Hey everybody, just wanted to talk about living in the end. I don't know if you've heard that before. If not, Neville Goddard has talked about that a lot. The reason I like it and think that it's useful, I see how it could be used quite a few different ways. I also find that, like, I used to do that when I was younger. I used to sort of look forward to things, kind of see how they could work out. Because it sort of in the big picture, everything kind of works. Everything is working to some extent. I mean, if you go by your principles and you remember them, you start to see how everything kind of implies other things. You start to see, like, that the fact that, mistakes are inevitable. Things aren't going to go exactly as you expect them to. Knowing that kind of implies that there's going to be imperfections, but really they don't really add up to much. I mean, you could overreact and you could respond to them in a particular way where it seems like they add up to something. But they don't have to. It's really what you choose to focus on. It's what you choose to see as what your ending is going to be. And I find with people with, like, anxiety or anything, like, where it's really low energy and it seems like your thoughts are sort of out of control, it's really good to sort of take a way of doing things that is very, very easy manner, very relaxed manner, where you're not really doing much at first, where you kind of just look at it. I mean, relaxation is the middle ground where you can always go back to. Like, if things are too hyper and too over aggressive and over, too much energy eventually going in the wrong direction, you could always go back to relaxation. When you're bored and you don't have much energy, relaxation can energize you, just like sleep. That's what sleep does. And so that's always a first thing to do for me. The second thing to do would be to sort of start asking yourself questions like, what is it this, that I'm thinking about? What is this? What is this? What are the words? What is it made out of? So, like, if, let's say, you're worried about, I don't know, a certain kind of job panning out. It's like, okay, well, am I asking myself the right questions about this job? Have I looked into the data? Have I looked into, the facts about this job? Sometimes it's just a matter of just being not informed. Sometimes you just have to dive into things and ask Google some questions, or ask the people questions at the job, and even if it's like a question that they've already answered, it's good to just get them to say it again, because sometimes they can start thinking about other questions that they haven't actually answered, and they will answer them for you. They will bring them up. Often that just gets other people thinking about how curious you are, even if it is a question that's not the best kind of question. Usually you could recognize it. Something in that context where it's, not exactly the most useful question, and it's not a big deal. When it comes down to something like that, your mind can feed you these stories, these scenarios, and I find what I used to do personally, I would kind of think of the worst case scenario, and I would try, like, I would aim for just not putting any meaning on it. Like, I would just make sure, like, it just, this doesn't have to mean anything. It's just me, like, oh, that's what that is, huh? That's what that is. That's all it has to be. You can stop right at that. You don't have to continue on. It's stopping at that in your focus, right? And you, like, that deliberate focus of you just kind of watching, and then you go back to just kind of allowing it to do whatever it's going to do after that. And when you allow it, when you just kind of watch, something else happens. There's always things that are happening. You can't stop the universe. You can't stop, like, life from just happening, from working. It's going to work into something else. It's going to turn into something else. And so after you watch it, it's kind of like an automatic seeing, perceiving of, like, oh, well, that's stupid. I'm not going to think that anymore. Like, you see how dumb it is. You see how senseless it is. It's just kind of just looks dumb, And then you just realize things. It's more of a perception of just like it's an evolving perception that's always happening. Like your perception is always changing throughout your life, right? Like, whether it's your beliefs or your values or anything like that, your thoughts are changing, right? That's what they do. And that's the best way to tell is how you're feeling. And so just the smallest amount of, like, better feeling, when you feel that after you've sort of just looked at it, that's good enough. Like, that's usually, like, you're going towards a different end. You're creating something. You're going towards a better idea. And that's when you sort of become more solution oriented, and you kind of you go for, like, okay, so what's a better thing to tell myself in this subject? What's a better thing to replace it with, sort of? It's almost like replacing a bad habit. It's sort of a habit of thought, a little piece of a habit of thought that you're sort of replacing a chunk of it. You're breaking it apart and you're doing one by one. Eventually, before you know it, you get this, like, whole other habit of thought if you keep doing that. So let's say, I don't know, you're saying that you're not sure if you can pay the bills with this job. Well, sometimes you could just possibly start general, like generally speaking, you kind of don't see how you can generally you can pay the bills. So maybe sometimes you can go into the details and you can see exactly how much you're making, and exactly it's not going to be exact. You could try to aim for exact, but look at the details of, like, how much you could possibly change in what you're actually, like, this is going into financial, right? Like, what you can change within that month, because, like, look at how much time it takes for you to get to that point where you actually have to pay the bill, or that biggest bill that you're actually really thinking about, and not really thinking about any of the other bills because they're small and you can change them like that. You can quickly change them. Have you ever thought about, like, if you're worried about money, that you can sort of pay those other smaller bills quite easily, like little one by one? Like, what is it, the piece of it that you're most worried about, and you take care of that, and then the other ones kind of take care of themselves, because then you start to see, oh, well, I can sell this thing, or I could possibly use this, and that'll feel better, and maybe I can, I don't know, do something with some other way to make money, and I don't know, there might be something lucrative in an online business, selling something that I could do on the side. There's so many different ways of, like, making money and sort of just adding to what you're already making. It's not really about saving money. I mean, you can save and see some aside, and it kind of feels good temporarily for that. But I think it feels even better to use your money, to use the money that's coming in, and know it's going to use, instead of just some of it is is having added interest on top of it. I mean, that's one way of doing things. I really like to use the wealth, because that's what wealth is. Wealth isn't just polymer and metal and paper. Like, I mean, wherever you live, it could be just paper mostly. But it's not like wealth is not money. Wealth is how you use your money. You know, because like if you're on a desert island and you have big stacks of billions of dollars, it's not really much use to you. I mean, basically you can try to use it as a roof for a few days, and then it probably gets blown off by some wind, and then it's nothing. So that's basically what all you could use it for. So it's not really useful. It's really about the value, the worth, the use of what it is that you have is what it's really all about when it comes to this subject. So anyways, I think I'm going to stop at that. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully you saw what it was worth, what I'm talking about here, and maybe you can put it to use in your own life. Because that's what I'm all about. I like sharing these things because I like seeing change around me. Because it sort of mirrors the change that's going on within me. So, thanks for listening.